This is a half hour, isn't it?
I,
Hi.
mm-mm.
We're rolling with Dr. K. Dr. K. 100 shades of diversity every day. We're rolling with Dr. K. Oh, Dr. K. 100 shades of diversity every day. Ah, yeah, we're rolling.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are watching via GRTV 25, today is Thursday, the 31st of October. Can you guys believe it? We're almost through another year. Wow. And we are 4 days and about 5 hours until there is a changing of the guard. And so we are down now to three more shows. After this one, we got three more shows to go until the unveiling. And we are so excited to have as our guest Reverend Dr. Eddie Laird, who is a veteran. And we're here today to talk about, see, people think that veterans don't vote, that we serve our country and we just kind of go, come back, hide in the corner. That is so not true. And Mr. Eddie is here to talk to us about that. Mr. Eddie, you have what I would consider this prestigious appointment that you just got, I believe, this year. Did you just get it this year, or has it been 1 year?
It's been 1 year. I was chosen a year ago to be the chairman for Veteran Affairs for the NAACP of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and the western side of Michigan here. I was appointed that position last October.
And please, for the people, what is, in case somebody out there does not know what NAACP is?
The NAACP stands for National Advancement Association for Colored People.
What?
So it exactly. So it's an organization that is based around making sure that people of color are represented and that we are in tune with what's going on in this world and we're treated fairly.
You mean somebody does not treat us fairly?
It has happened before,
Oh,
whether we wanted it to or not. It has happened. So consequently, whether you accept it or not, sometimes you have to do some litigation. You have to go some ways to have someone sort of help you work through some of those processes to make sure that you are treated fairly.
So what does the NAACP do for veterans? I mean, they said that you're the chair of that. What can we expect from you?
So
Mhm.
what we're trying to do, Dr. Kimberly, is this. We know that there is a large amount of veterans who are that come home for whatever reason. They don't have jobs. They have medical issues. There's various difficulties that happen. So what we're trying to do, and especially in our community, is we're trying to go out, find those veterans, let them know that there is help. Uh, there are ways that if they're homeless, we can help them. If they have medical issues, we can help them. Anything that that veteran needs, there is a way that we can get that help. So that's my job, to make sure that the 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 veteran, and specifically the African American veteran, or any particular veteran for that matter, gets what they need, because so many times veterans come home and they're forgotten.
But you know what? We first of all, we want to say good afternoon to Dr. Vertanji, who is watching from Detroit, Michigan. Thank you. She was our guest on yesterday. You did an excellent job. Excellent, excellent. We talked about, voting. She has a son who's in the military and then a son who has autism. So just the importance of making sure during this vote that those two, groups for her are not forgotten about. And then we want to say thank you to Secrest Hallman, who is watching. I'm appreciating you. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. Here we go. I see some love. Thank you for the love. She gave us a heart, the hugging of the heart. That means that she cares. We
That's
appreciate that.
great.
She cares about you as well.
Yeah.
I think that many folks would beg to differ that the folks who are coming back now, this is not like it was when they came back from the Vietnam War, where nobody loved a veteran, nobody appreciated a veteran, nobody even understood why we even went. Most people now understand why we go to war, what's at stake, and they have so many programs now that have been implemented that they can tell you, that's an antiquated service. Who needs that anymore?
I would dare say, to a certain extent, that is correct. But on the other hand, even I have found that even veterans of recently, as an example of Desert Storm,
Hey,
um,
that's my era.
that's your era. They come home and uh, they come home with a particular problem, or they come home and they need housing, or they need education, or whatever the case may be. Once you are released from the service, no matter what branch you served in, you're not going to necessarily have someone that sits right there with you and say, so what are you intending on doing? What are your plans on as you're going out? What are you going to do? And what happens is, a lot of times our veterans, they come home and they get caught up in a system that doesn't be right there by them side to help them. So consequently, they don't get what they need, be it medical, education, whatever the case may be. Is it better than it was when I came back from Vietnam? In some cases, yeah. The fact that you said nobody loved us when we came home, that's a fact. That's a real fact. Uh, to talk about that was, I can tell you that I came home April 4th, 1968. I landed and I went to my home. There was a reception for me. And after being gone for 11 months and 23 days, I come home April 4th, and in the middle of my reception, there's a large screen. And it's my mother who's crying out loud. And I run in the house to say, Mom, what's going on? And the TV says, we interrupt this program for a special announcement. Martin Luther King has just been assassinated. That's my day back from 11 months in Vietnam. So what did that do to me? That shut me down for a period of time. That there were some mental issues that I had in terms of, why was I fighting? Why was I fighting for a freedom for someone else when I don't have it, when I come back home and I don't have it here at home?
So
So
do you think this is what keeps the veterans from not voting?
I think it does. I think it does. I think a lot of veterans don't vote because they don't think it makes a difference. They don't feel as though their voices are being heard. They don't feel as though that one vote is going to make a difference in whether it's a state election, a city election, or a national. They don't feel that, because no one reaches out to them. A lot of veterans, I should say, and say, hey, your vote is just as important as anybody else's vote. Your vote counts just as much. So that's an issue where now I am here in the city of Grand Rapids, Michigan, I'm talking to veterans who have said to me, I'm not going to vote, Ed. It's not going to make any difference. Why should I vote? They're going to put whoever they want. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. So that's exactly what I'm doing here in this city. I'm trying to make sure that every veteran that has the capabilities of getting to the polls to vote, that they vote. I don't ask them who they're going to vote for.
Right.
I just tell them they need to vote.
Right. We want to say thank you to Adrian Johnson for tuning in. And of course, Roz loves purple. I like to say that because there's somebody else who loves purple like I do. But thank you, Rosalind Harris, for tuning in on today. She is definitely an ally, and we were all just together last night. We say thank you to Dr. Elisa Carter, who is watching, and she's fighting as well. She knows the struggle and the fight. Thank you to Stacey Willis for tuning in. We appreciate you. Oh, Dr. Lisa says, good afternoon. She says, hey, purple sis. Yes, girl, I'm rocking the purple. You know, one of the things I had the conversation before I decided to do these 12 consecutive shows to get out the vote is I had a long talk with the Lieutenant Governor, Garland Gilchrist. Mm-hmm. And I said, sir, I mean, he went through the gamut, you know, and I said, well, what is the main thing that you think that we need to have the conversation about when we have the conversation? He says, for those who don't want to vote, you know, what is going to be your pitch to them? What is it that they're going to say? So he kind of gave me some different ideas. So what he says, and find out from them what has worked and what's not working. When you say to a veteran, hey, your vote counts, because first of all, this is a presidential election. All eyes are on Michigan, and there are 7 swing states that are going to truly determine the selection, especially, I think Michigan now, as of 3 days ago, is now the leader and is the state that is going to decide the presidency.
That's correct.
And we have all these folks that have been through here, you know, courting Michigan, and they'll probably be here until election day saying, hey, you know what, we need you to help us vote. We need you to get out the vote. And people don't understand that there are 93 electoral votes, and that's what decides, you know, the presidency. So if in no other election, November 5th of 2024, your vote will count on that day. It definitely will count on that day.
You are absolutely correct. This is one of the most impactful elections in American history. It's important because one of the biggest issues about this election is our democracy and our freedom that we have now. And certainly there's different viewpoints about what that looks like. There's different viewpoints about where we're going to go as a country. But whatever your viewpoint is about that, it's important that you voice that by voting. It's important that you learn and you read up and that you follow through. It's important that you listen to what is being said, not only at the national level, but even in the state level, the city level. It's important because these people who you vote for represent you, and you want your representation to be exactly the way that you feel. So it's important, not only for veterans, but it's important for everyone to get to those polls and vote.
Dr. Vertanji says, absolutely. And she said, very important. You know, I agree. I guess I look at, we want to say thank you to Lady Daphne Gaddy, who is tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. I guess for me, as a veteran, I look at how we had to raise our right hand.
That's right.
That we would defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if you are not upholding our democracy and that constitution, then I cannot in good conscience, vote for you. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to vote. We have to look and say which candidate, whether it's a city, county, state, or at the national level, who best represents what my reality looks like.
Exactly.
And who will support, who in the past has supported what my reality looks like. And that's how I have to vote, because I don't expect, every single candidate to have someone to have served. Maybe some election years, everybody has a relative or a parent or a sibling who has served. Maybe everyone has someone who has some sort of disability. And so I can gravitate, towards them.
Mhm.
But if that's not there, I have to look at what have you done? I'm like Janet Jackson, what have you done for us lately?
Correct.
What are you doing? Lady Gaddy says, absolutely. So we have to, you don't have to look like me, you don't have to be bald, you don't have to be a woman, and you don't have to be of color, but do you have some values that are similar to mine? Because now we're down to, on November 5th, we're not voting for a party. We're truly voting for our freedom and for our democracy.
Exactly.
And for the
That's right.
issue.
That's right.
I
That's
think
right.
this is the first time in history where you can't necessarily vote your party. You have to vote on who, again, I reiterate, who most, exemplifies my values and my reality.
I think your values and your reality is the key. I think another key is whoever I vote for, what are you going to do to ensure that everyone is inclusive and there's a future for everyone involved? I'm talking senior citizens, I'm talking middle age, I'm talking children. What are you going to do to ensure that as this country moves forward, that the values of this country, the values of the people of this country are upheld in a way where everyone can feel appreciated, equal in whatever aspect of life or whatever it is that they're doing, that they're equal. And again, as you said, I think it's important that all comes about from listening,
Mhm,
hearing,
mhm.
evaluating, walking to the mirror and saying, is this the person that I think best represent what I want? You got to take that time. Again, it's not about whether you're a Democrat. It's not about whether you're a Republican. It's not about whether you're independent. It's about the freedom and democracy of this country at this point. This vote is so critical. We people have to get out and vote.
They do. It's about 17 minutes after the hour, and you are tuned to Rolling on the Road to Victory. 12 shows dedicated to getting out the vote in different communities, whether you're a grassroots, grass top, um, a mom, a dad, a veteran, a single parent, wherever you are, we have tried to find, different ones to speak to you, and that which comes from the heart reaches the heart. And to know that this year, if no other year, your vote is going to count. People, we are really being courted. Michigan is really being courted. And if you're watching via GRTV 25, today is Thursday, the 31st of October. And we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for all of those who are with us live on today. And I encourage you to go back and go on YouTube. 100 Shades of Diversibility. You can see the logo up there. You'll see the logo on YouTube, and go back and look at some of the communities that we have interviewed. We've talked to some young men. Can you believe it? Some 30-year-old young men. One that lived in Atlanta, Georgia, which is a swing state. We had an opportunity to interview him. He actually kicked us off. The other young man, he's 33 years old, and I love him. He's a single parent of a 4-year-old son, and he had the opportunity to set the stage up that Kamala Harris stood on to, ask for our vote when she came here a couple of weeks ago. And the impact as a young Black male that it did for him, and for him to be able to go out. I mean, he says that he's a part of a union, and that's one of the things that's at stake now is dismantling unions.
Correct. And the important part about that is, on one hand, you talk about when you dismantle unions, you're talking about a group that has a specific focus in mind. They want specific things to be in place. And you don't necessarily have to have a union, but what you do have to have is fair and equality. And some unions are that way, some unions are not. That's why it is, again, I emphasize, whatever it is that you want, whatever value that's important to you, you need to be able to say to someone and make sure that you make it clear, these are my values. This is what I want. This is what's driving me. This is the direction that I can see, not only for myself, but for my family, for my kids, for my grandkids, because we all want to be the best. We all want the best.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for us to have the best, for everyone to have the best, the playing field has to be equal. And that is the one thing that is the key to this election. The playing field needs to become equal for everyone.
And you think that one side is not going to be as equal as the other?
I would just say, look at history. I would just say, look at history, and let's just talk about that. Let's just talk about that. I mean, there, and we're talking about voting, and when you talk about history, you think that 1964, when the civil rights voting right came into effect, removed all the Jim Crow laws. Okay, you think about 1920, women's suffrage. That's when they began to vote. Okay, you think about the 1800s, when only a certain group of people could vote. So you go from the 1800s to 1920s to 1964, even to now.
2024.
Yeah, and you asked me if the playing field is equal. Well, you being a veteran and me being a veteran, let's talk about World War I, World War II. Let's talk about Korea. Let's talk about Vietnam. Let's talk about all those wars. Some of those wars, veterans were fighting, but couldn't come home and vote.
No.
So I ask you if the playing field has always been equal.
No.
There you go.
No. And that is why I'm in my wheelchair, in my Bentley, and I just truck it right on down the road. and they said, you're disabled. You can do absentee ballot. And I said, no, 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 no.
No.
I am going to go in person because yes, I remember reading about the 1800s, in my political science classes, reading about the women's suffrage and their wanting to vote. 1964, Jim Crow. I'm like, no, no, there's too much that has happened. Too many people have lost their lives for me to just sit at home. And I have nothing against anyone. You do what you have to do for you. I'm saying what I have to do for me. I represent so much. Number one, I am a woman. So I represent women. I am a woman veteran. I am a widow. I am disabled. I am Black. That's 5 groups right there.
Exactly.
5. I
Yeah.
am a mother. That's 6. I'm a grandmother. That's 7. I own a small business. That's 8. So when I ride down the street in that Bentley, I
Yes.
represent the middle class. I am definitely smack dab middle class and middle upper class. So that's what about 9 or 10, groups that I'm representing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Those
Exactly.
who are deaf or hard of hearing, I'm blind in my right eye. I'm just, I could go on and on and on of the folks that I'm representing, those who have had strokes, those who have had heart attacks, I'm representing all of them and those who are in wheelchairs, those who are in walkers. When I wheel down there, they can see all of that in me that I am representing. And they're going to watch me cast my vote, and I'm going to wheel up and I'm going to lift this arm up and put it in there. Vertanji says every person holding an elected seat affects the citizens. That is true.
That's
And
very true.
we'll get to that point in just a second. But so it's important for me. It's important for me to be seen exercising a privilege that folks fought and died for.
That's the driving point for me as well. There's lives that has not only been taken, but there are people who have died for the struggle, for us to have that right to vote. And we all bring something. We all bring something to the table,
Yes.
whether it's a little something or a big something. That's your opinion. How you decide how big it is or how little it is.
Look,
but
if
it
we got some
doesn't matter.
Dan, if we got some greens, at the table,
that's it.
I'm gonna need, some fat back or something in there to season them greens with.
Exactly.
So either you're gonna be the fat back, you're gonna sacrifice everything, or you're gonna be the greens and just pick off a little bit. I gotta have some cornbread with it.
Exactly.
So you could be the cornbread, you could be the egg to go into the cornbread. I don't know, or you gotta have some butter on there. So you could be the butter. You could be the napkin. So when we're talking about
that, yes.
Look at it as if we have this big meal, and maybe you not the turkey, maybe you are not the ham, but you could find yourself somewhere on that table where we can all eat, and I love it. Some people have to give a bigger sacrifice, like the pig. He can't be like the cow and just give some milk. If the pig is going to sacrifice something, even if he say, okay, y'all could just have my feet, how I'm gonna walk, he going to give up the feet.
Correct. We all bring something. We all bring something. And what I tell not only veterans, but I tell anyone that I talk to about voting, it's not it's not about that word. It is not going to make any difference whether I vote or not. Uh, it does make a difference. It does make a difference. It's important that you vote. If you don't think it make a difference, then why has there been a struggle for us to have the right to vote? It's not about what you think, it's about the reality is we have to vote. If you want to be heard, if you want things changed, if you want to move forward, you have it's the salt or it's the pepper or it's the sugar or it's the milk, whatever you bring, you got to bring it.
We got
You
to.
got to bring it.
We want to say thank you to Autumn Hartpence for the love and for tuning in on today. It is now 30 minutes after the hour. We want to say thank you so much for tuning into Rolling on the Road to Victory. I came up with that name, well, because it goes along with the rolling franchise, if you will. And all eyes are on Michigan. Your vote, if no other time, is going to count on November 5th, 2024. We've looked at the numbers. We've talked about the numbers in these last 7, 8 shows, how many votes that these candidates have lost by, and they've lost by those people who said that their vote didn't matter. You tell that to the candidate who lost by 50 votes. That happened in 2022. It was a difference of 50 votes between these two particular candidates. And I hope none of you went up to him and said, oh man, I'm sorry that you didn't win. I didn't vote because I didn't think my vote mattered. Well, dude, that means that if you had voted, I would have been 40. That's 49 votes. And if he runs, which he sees a plethora of folks, and I guarantee you from the time within a 24-hour period, he saw more than 50 people that probably did not vote, and he would have won. He didn't need but 51 people.
That's
it was
true.
A difference of 50 votes. I'm telling you. I mean, when we heard that it was 50 votes, folks were saying, hey, you could get a recount. You could check that, recheck it, because 50 votes, it maybe somebody messed up somewhere. You never know. And it made me think about all the people who said back then, well, I ain't gonna vote because my vote really don't matter. And I said, tell that to him. Tell that to him, because he lost by 50 votes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you even go back to the election of 2016, whereas President Trump won, but Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but she lost the electoral college by 78 votes. 78 people didn't vote, thought it didn't vote. So it does matter. It does matter. It does. I've talked with veterans. I've talked with people even for this election, and I'm hearing a lot of, well, I don't know if our country is ready for a change in who leads this country. And my comeback with that is there's a change every time there's a new president.
Yep, changing of the guard.
There is a change every time there is a new elected president. So let me understand what you're saying. Are you saying you're not going to vote because of her being a lady? Is that why you're not going to vote? Are you saying you're not going to vote because of you don't trust? And a lot of them said, Well, we've never had a female for president. And I said,
We
have
never
you
had
ever,
a black man for president either.
and I said, have you ever went to a restaurant and ate something that you never ate before and you liked it? Well, yeah. So what's the difference? How does your and then my question always goes back to how does your values line up with what you just said?
That part.
And they go, well, Mr. Laird, well, I'm just saying, no. If you can explain to me how your values line up with what you just said, then I'll listen. Otherwise, what you just said is nothing more than an excuse. It's nothing more than an excuse. So if that's what you want to base your opinion on, an excuse, then January 6th, you have nothing to say.
Absolutely nothing.
You have nothing to
Absolutely
say.
nothing. Nothing. I look at it like this. If you served your country, and this we're talking about veterans. For me, being on a ship, we get a new captain every 4 years, or you get a new duty station every 4 years for Navy. I think
Mhm.
Army, you guys do every 2 years, you know. So you mean to tell me because you get a new duty station, you're not going to show up? It's no different. You're going to have new leadership.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you're not going to follow their orders
Exactly.
because you
Exactly.
have new leadership. And
Yes.
maybe you're there, and maybe you're not new, but the leadership is, or it could be vice versa. You're new coming in, and maybe you have rank, and you're going to be, the commanding officer or the petty officer in charge. I don't think that you would appreciate trying to lead 30 folks in your division, and they're not going to follow you and do what you say because you're new. Come on, make it make sense.
And it doesn't. It doesn't. And that was again my pushback by asking them, so what is it about her credentials, what she's offering that would make you not want to vote? Well, Mr. Laird, nothing. I mean, she's really sharp. She's really sharp. I think she's got some great potential. Okay, then why aren't you going to vote? I don't know. I don't know. I then said, go look in the mirror and tell yourself you don't know until you can tell yourself you do know. And pull all those hidden negativities that you have inside of you out of you, all those hidden agendas out of you, and think, if you put yourself in her place, would you like for someone to say, I'm not going to vote for you because you're a male? How would that make you feel? Well, that wouldn't be fair. Well, then what you're saying to me isn't fair. You need to vote. You need to you need to get in touch with the reasons and what is expected, what you expect of this country, and what you think is going to be best, not for just you, but for your family as they move forward in life. Don't be so selfish where you're just thinking about how you feel. If
Right.
you got a 5-year old or a 6-year old or a 7-year old, what life's going to be like for them as they move forward in life? Don't you want something better for them? Yeah. Then think about what you're saying. You need to get down to the polls.
Well, I have to say, I can't wait to say to the Lieutenant Governor, guess what? Guess what? Hey, we got the best one today. A veteran. Yes. Had the best comeback for, if you're not going to vote. And he started telling me about some of the stories of the folks that he met, because the lieutenant governor and the governors are all going together as groups to some of those swing states to have these, conversations or help those that are, need to get voted into office in their area. And then they're voting. I mean, how do I say that? They're all together doing rallies to get Harris voted. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was a mouthful. So they're all, together. So they have all of these, they got them out canvassing. I was like, Lord Jesus. It's like who canvasses for the presidency? They go get governors. It just kind of trickles right on down.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
about who you get out to, get the vote out for you and rally around you. And you definitely have the best comeback for the no, and you really put it back in the person's court and make them hold that mirror up and say, did I just believe that? What did I just say?
Exactly.
I think they call it gaslighting. Did I just gaslight my own self? What did I just do?
Right. Yeah,
So
I spoke with the lieutenant governor a week or so ago when he was here at the NAACP conference, and he said to me, he said, Eddie, he said, every person that you talk to, you make sure that you say to them, they need to vote like their life depends on it.
Yep, that's exactly what he said to me. Mm-hmm.
You need to tell them they need to vote like their life depends on it, because the fact of the matter is, it does. It does. It does.
I'm not crying today. I cried during yesterday's show, and the show before that, and the one before that. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. My lash is hanging on by a thread right now. No, I'm not doing it.
It's so important. It's Dr. Kimberly. It is so important. It is. There's only a few days left, and I would say
exactly 4 days and 4 hours and 20 minutes.
And I would say to anyone that's listening to us, when this is over with, if you can just touch one person that that said they're not going to vote and convince them to vote, this podcast was worth it, because that's our goal. That's our goal. We've got to get to the polls. We just have to. There's no if and buts.
Roll down there in the wheelchair. So if I can roll down there in the wheelchair, y'all have no excuse. None.
Well, there's no reason not to get there. There's too many avenues to get people there. A lot of people are afraid that when they get there, they're going to run into some altercations or whatever the case may be. You're going to run into altercations if you don't vote.
This is true. But just know that on Tuesday, we do have the police captain here in our area. They have a game plan already set, as well as the poll workers already have everything set up. Everyone is on high alert for this particular election, and they are ready. I feel like right now that we are part of the Black Panthers.
That's what it feels like. Yes.
I feel like I'm a Black Panther about to escort, Malcolm X and.
I was told yesterday, Eddie, you tell anybody whether they're voting early or they're going to wait until Tuesday to vote. You tell them there is nothing going to happen in the city of Grand Rapids, because we are ready, willing, and able to make sure that this election in this city goes without any problems at all.
That part.
That part.
That part right there. It is now 43 minutes after the hour, and we want to say thank you so much for tuning in. It's amazing how quickly the time goes when you're talking about something that you're very passionate about. I can't believe we only have 15 minutes left, but hopefully there's something that we have said that is resonating with you. And if you decided not to vote, that we've said something that now you're going to think about it and say, you know what, I am going to vote. I am going to exercise my right. And I will be so bold enough to say we talk about white privilege all the time. Guess what? Voting gives you white privilege. How about that? That puts you on the same level, and that's what evens out the playing field, is going out there to vote. If you are watching via GRTV 25, today is, wow, Thursday, October 31st, and we have about 4 days and 15 less than 15 hours. And before you can vote, unless here in Michigan you have the ability to do early voting, and in other states, please, 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 if you are outside of the state of Michigan, you can check with your local police department, your local precincts, to see what they do have in place, especially those in swing states. They do have plans in place. We did get to hear a little bit of it, how they're all protecting. When was it Kamala Harris came here, and we got to see all of the governors that are traveling together, that are helping to get out the vote, how they were ensuring our safety across the United States. So please, 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 please trust the process. And guess what? If you feel nervous, take 5 other people with you. Go deep. You know how we used to do on Fridays, and it was time for the game, and we had one car and we piled in like 10 people in a 2-door car. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
To go see them football games, because we was going to the game Friday night and we was gonna all hang out and get something to eat. Go back to that. Make it a day. Hey, we about to go 4, 5 deep, and we going to the polls, and then we going to get us something to eat. And we do appreciate Dr. Alyssa Carter, that we went over some things to keep yourself safe. On that day, keep them hands at 10 and 2 if you get stopped. Make sure that you have, get you a little Velcro, a little something, and Velcro, go to the dollar store and get one of them little card holders, and have your insurance and your registration and your license. Just keep it up on the dashboard. So when they roll up on you, look, it's right there.
That's important.
We can make this thing do what it do. Because trust me, everybody don't like the thing. Just because they're on a police force doesn't mean that they have other alliances or allegiance, outside of that. So, and Dr. Lister, she said, stay safe. So you guys make sure, keep them hands at 10 and 2, 10 and 2, 10 and 2, 10 and 2. And don't be talking back. What your mama tell you, go back to them rules that you learned at 5 years old.
One of the things that I want to stress in terms of voting is I want the listeners to also have the opportunity to say to people, there is a bill that has been in Congress since September of 2023, and it's the John R. Lewis Voting Right Advancement Act, which is an act to review and approve the criteria for preventing racial discrimination in voting, mandate greater nationwide transparency. There, whether you believe it or not, there are places in this country that still have ways of blocking votes, specifically minority votes. That bill has been in Congress for over a year. We need to get people in there that's going to pass that bill so that all of this discrimination, all of these barriers that are trying to be put so that the voices cannot be heard will be taken care of. And it
Well,
can't happen unless we vote.
it goes
We
back
have to vote.
to Dr. Vertagi's comment. She said every person holding an elected seat affects the citizens.
That's exactly where that goes. That's exactly
And
where that
so
goes.
thank you for that comment. I know that it was, a little bit back, but we had to work it into, where we are. And absolutely, it fits right in here. When we're talking about getting this bill moved forward, the only way it can is if we get some folks in office that look at it, believe in bipartisanship, and say on both sides, we're going to have the conversation, we're going to get this passed. Uh, Again, I have my tissue. I said I wasn't going to cry, but what touched me the most was last week to see, Slotkin, who is running as a Democrat for Congress, and Liz Cheney, supporting her and
Yeah.
talking about their experience on the day of the insurrection.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. It took me back to military time, military days, and to hear their story. I don't even know. I know there were at least 6 news outlets. I don't know how much of it, that they were recording. And I was so caught up in the moment, I didn't even think to record as both of them were sharing. But to see, we had 2 women, for those of y'all don't believe that women can get things done, who talked about their bipartisan relationship and the things that they got done working together in Congress. And now they're, being in the Senate and what that's going to look like. And it just makes me emotional. I'm gonna pull myself back. My lash is hanging on just by a thread there. But imagining them working and having conversations, and everyone across the United States, that if you all vote, get these great folks in, that this time next year it'll be in. And when it's time in 2026 for that midterm election, we can see it realized.
There is no reason why it can't be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, Dr. Kimberly, I'm going to resort back to you and I being veterans. I think back to being in Vietnam and being under fire and seeing someone get wounded, and you build a relationship. That platoon has built a relationship where you're all one.
Yes.
And when you see someone get hurt, you don't stop to look to see whether they're black, brown, green, yellow, white, or whatever. You do whatever you can to pull that person to safety.
Yep.
We come from all different walks of life to unite to pull that person to safety. We come home and we divide. We got to stop. This world has got to stop doing that. This country has got to stop doing that. If we can be one as a platoon fighting in another country for them to have freedom, we can vote and they can become one in Washington and become one platoon for the betterment of this country. But in order for that to happen, we got to put the right people in the right places at the right time so that they can do the right thing.
And this is the right time, this is the right place. And I agree. You know, when we're out there and we're training and we have the Marines firing as if we are under attack, they don't ask us to ask them, are you gay? Are you straight?
None of
Are
that.
you black? Are you white?
None of that matters.
Are you male? Are you female?
None of that matters.
Are you a Republican, an independent, or a Democrat? We just know we leave no man behind.
And when you say man, that includes women as well.
That
That's
is
all of us.
mankind.
That's all of us.
It's
That's all of
mankind.
us. So why can't we do that here? And we can if we can get to the polls. Once again, this is about voting. I don't care whether you're black, white, green, or yellow. You bring something to the table, you have an opinion. If you're questioning what that opinion is, look yourself in the mirror and say, what do I want tomorrow? Then go vote.
Whew. And with that, friends and neighbors, I will see you on tomorrow. I'm excited. Our first vice president of the NAACP will be here on tomorrow, Gail Harvey. And then on Monday, yes, we're doing a Monday. We will have Miss Whitaker, who is the director for the state of Michigan for our reproductive rights, because that's on the table, because we're not going back. And then on Tuesday, on election day, we will have Captain Kathy Williams here to talk about,
Great.
you know, what's in place and how you can be safe.
Great.
And then I'm taking the rest of the week off.
That's great.
Y'all can watch some replays while I take a breath, and we're gonna come back. We got some great guests that will be coming. Because this Get Out the Vote really took over, you know, October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I had the opportunity to go to a In Pink and Powerful breakfast and talk to the president of the American Cancer Society. And it was awesome. And there were some women who were survivors. And so we're just going to kind of give them their space and give them some honor. And we've got some other folks that are coming through here who will be rolling. But this has been, I will have to say, a lot. You know, when y'all start seeing all the pictures and all the places that I had the opportunity to go, the folks to meet, and you know, I got my mobilized every time, you know, you register, and it showed me my mobilized calendar of everything that I have been a part of. I said, oh my Lord. And I took pictures, so it really did happen. And I think we saw each other along the way.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Did I say thank you?
Yes, you did.
I thank you for your service. I thank you for the service that you continue to do.
Thank you.
Because you're still serving.
Thank you. Yes, I am.
You are still serving. So I want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I will see you on Sunday.
All righty. All right.
And thank you. Did I say thank you?
Yes, you did. Thank you for having me.
Look, there we go. That's it.